Good evening and welcome back to Public Pictures Theater. I'm Jake Swoger and I'm here with Brandon Dunlap. And tonight we'll be showing you a carefully curated collection of comically corny cartoons. Specifically, we'll be watching an assortment of Warner Brothers' iconic animated shorts, Looney Tunes.
That was great.
Thank you.
There are a lot of Looney Tune episodes in the public domain, primarily due to copyright neglect, and we've selected several of what we consider to be the silliest showcases. We've got Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, Elmer Fudd, and more in a variety of ridiculous situations.
Although they're in the public domain, some of these shorts are noteworthy for the Looney Tunes series for one reason or another. For example, one episode you'll be seeing, A Tale of Two Kitties, features the first ever appearance of Tweety Bird, who is being hunted by a pair of cats based on the real-life comedy duo of Abbott and Costello. It's really funny. Another is a World War II propaganda film that sees fools being made out of Hitler and the Nazis. And the episode A Corny Concerto was Warner Brothers' parody of Disney's Fantasia and was the only Looney Tunes cartoon to feature both Bugs Bunny and Porky Pig together.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy an evening of cartoon craziness on us. It's Looney Tunes tonight on Public Pictures Theater.
That's all, folks.
Welcome back to tonight's panel discussion. I'm Matt Albright and I'm here with Dr. Start, Brandon, and Jake, and we're going to talk about Looney Tunes. So which cartoon and character was your favorite?
I guess my favorite is always going to be Bugs Bunny. I like the Brooklyn accent. I like that he's a, he's a wise guy. He's like so many character actors that you see, especially in that era in the 30s and 40s. That and I love him. I love them all, but I guess he's the one I like the most.
What about you?
I kind of want to say Daffy Duck, at least with the ones that we watched. Just feel like he makes interesting problems. Like they write him in good spots, I suppose.
But you liked the one with the cats and Tweety Bird too, didn't you?
Yeah. Like the prototype Tweety Bird that wasn't quite Tweety Bird yet.
I really like that one too. It had the Abbott and Costello cats. I was really a fan of the one where Fresh Hare, the one where Bugs Bunny was in Canada being chased by a chunky Elmer Fudd. That one was really funny, especially where he got handcuffed to the bomb and he's going through the keys like, oh, here it is, and then it blows up.
Well, Looney Tunes is considered a classic animation because of its humor, physical comedy, and musical score. Are there any non-adult cartoons from today that can hold a candle to it?
I don't know.
Good cartoons are really few and far between anymore.
Yeah, I mean, there's good ones, but they're not really like prolific. I can't think of any off the top of my head that really have that style of humor, at least. That
not from like maybe 2014 to 2018, but there were a couple back on Cartoon Network that I thought were really well written and funny. I liked SpongeBob SquarePants. I grew up with that one. Yeah,
that's true.
Really good writing, really funny show.
I retract my statement.
Yeah, SpongeBob SquarePants was really good. Of course, that was 1999 that came out. It's still going, though. I also liked Camp Lazlo on Cartoon Network. That was actually written by some of the same people. Same thing with Chowder on Cartoon Network. The little
Animaniacs
I liked that
was
one
good too.
The Animaniacs was really funny.
Was that like 90s?
Really good.
That was early 90s, I think. Yeah. I remember watching that. That was funny.
I just can't imagine I don't think they could hold your attention if you project it down the road. If some of these cartoons are made in the 30s and 40s, if that's 70, 80 years ago, can you throw the newer ones down the road 80 years and expect them to hold up? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I would make the case for SpongeBob, but that's kind of it. Like, it was just like a whole Looney Tunes universe that like a lot of shows don't really have that.
The writing was witty too. A lot of cartoons you see today are just outright stupid for being stupid for the sake of being stupid. Like it was silly, right? SpongeBob, Looney Tunes, they were silly, but they're also really funny. They're very witty. The script is well written. There's jokes in there for adults, not necessarily like crude humor, but like something more sophisticated. That
without being vulgar. I mean, I'm not a prude, but something like Family Guy.
That's what I said. Non-adult cartoons.
Wow, I can't even imagine them showing stuff like that back in the day. back in the 30s or 40s or 50s or even the 60s. It's too over the edge.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, showing ankle was over the edge too.
Yeah,
so.
But like, it's all shock value and shows like that. I mean, like, they are still well written. I'm not gonna like knock the people that work on it, but I think the intention is to kind of just like make people upset sometimes, and
it's
that's fine and all. But
sometimes like the darkest, the darkest kind of like edgiest humor is sometimes the funniest. Mm-hmm. Like you laugh and like you feel really guilty that you're laughing, but at the same time it's still funny.
Yeah.
Context is important.
A few of the shorts that we saw were propaganda for World War II. Did you find them entertaining? And was it strange to see a character or cartoon series deal with the realities of a war?
It was interesting. I didn't really know what to expect with that black and white one. Mm-hmm. The one with the goat. Can't think of the name off the top of my
Scrap
head.
Happy Daffy.
Yeah.
The one with Hitler in it. Yeah.
Yeah, they had it was a pretty funny representation of Hitler and like the whole Nazi party. But I didn't really think about it as a propaganda cartoon until I was like a little farther into watching it. Like, oh yeah, this was in like 1943. Like they probably did. Make this.
They did a lot of that with a lot of other like the Three Stooges. Anything that was out at the time, they did like anti-Nazi stuff. But the thing was, it was like propaganda, but it was like. It didn't feel like propaganda because it was funny.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're at war with these people, why not make them look stupid?
Yeah, it's just like it happened to involve Nazis, but it's still a Looney Tunes cartoon, but also is a propaganda film. Which,
I think it integrated itself really nicely with that. What did you think, Doc?
I thought it was good. I try to look at it from the eyes of someone in the 1930s and late 30s and 40s, as opposed to someone who's, this is 2016, and it seems back then everybody pulled together, even the movie industry, and they, as you said, everybody had a little bit of that propaganda in their shows, whether it be the Three Stooges and the cartoons, especially because they were 20-minute shorts, so you could put those out, and it's remarkable and very funny, funny. It's you never know, and when you deal with history, I mean, whoever wins the war writes the books, right? Mm-hmm. So you never know.
Well, this was while the war was being fought. This is before the history was even written. I really like the part where Hitler, like, he's chewing the carpet, and it just says "chew" on this line. And he just chews a line straight to his phone.
It's like
calls him
sheer frustration. Another thing that was kind of noteworthy. What was the name of that duck at the end? Like the big American guy.
The big American. Oh yeah, I can't remember what he.
Yeah,
it was like he was seeing all of his like duck ancestors who were like freedom fighters at the end. Yeah.
Which like makes total sense as a propaganda film. It's kind of interesting to see that in today's context. I think there's a lot of people that wouldn't necessarily portray that as a giant buff superhero at this point in time.
Big duck. I don't.
So a weird political climate, but it's an interesting little piece of history there.
They were really enjoyable, though. I
really liked all the ones that I watched.
And you and I were talking earlier about the quality of the cartoons themselves, and it's remarkable how well they held up, and it's just nice that they were on YouTube. You can watch them anytime. And I really liked it.
I was surprised when I went to watch one, and I'm looking at the quality, and I'm looking at the year. I was thinking, this is...
Is that like restored? Or
it looks really very nice.
Yeah, the colors, vibrant colors, and the prints were really good.
The music was good. It was funny.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mel Blanc provided the voices for just about every Looney Tunes character. Is there anyone in entertainment today you think has the vocal range to do something like this?
I didn't even know that, honestly.
One guy voiced everybody.
Trivia for you.
He was actually like Mel Blanc. You know how it says like Looney Tunes, like starring Mel Blanc. Before Looney Tunes, they didn't put voice actors' names in the credits because they were unimportant. It was the characters, the animators that were important. But Mel Blanc actually got people recognized to be voice actors because he literally did every Looney Tune character you can think of, which is really funny if you see like Porky Pig and Daffy Duck in one episode because he's literally talking to himself.
It's funny if you look at some of the early Bugs Bunny, how he changed the accent around. It was it was a Brooklyn accent, but it wasn't as harsh. And then as time went on, he made it a much harsher Brooklyn accent. So he did change it with the times. I always liked the scores. Carl Stalling scored those cartoons. He's a remarkable musician, and I loved to listen to the music. Everything about him, the quality.
Well, getting back to the question. Who do I think today that could actually do it? There are a lot of like the more adult cartoons, you know, like Family Guy. Seth MacFarlane does like half the voices for that. Tom Kenny, I think, is pretty good. He does the voice for SpongeBob and also like half a dozen other notable things.
He's on
one
different
thing.
shows,
Let me think. Who was the one actor that I think could really? I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I think you see a lot of that today. Maybe not necessarily like they voice everything. Mel Blanc was really a treasure as far as vocal talent goes. But I think sometimes, especially when you look into like when it crosses over between like cartoons and movies and video games and all these other things, people have like a voice actor sheet a mile long. Steve Bloom, I think, is pretty good if you ever heard of him.
I've heard his name.
He does a lot of voice. It's like anime and video games mostly, but he has an incredible vocal range.
Who is the woman who plays Marge Simpson, Homer Simpson's wife? And she was on the show Rhoda. I forget her name.
I can't remember either.
I've heard her voice. She's got a really cool voice. That's a nice voice to hear. Boy, I don't remember her name.
I don't either.
No. Anyways.
Guess we'll never know.
We'll never know.
We'll look it up after we're done filming.
All right, well, that's all the time we have. Thank you for joining us here on Public Pictures Theater. Tune in next week for more great public domain films.